Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a simply not logical podcast.
Menchie's so excited right now. She's like, I'm going to get in your face. I want to hear your voice for an hour long. Oh, she's headbutting the mic now.
She's obsessed. What are we doing today, Cristine?
We are doing another episode of Am I the Asshole?
Another one.
Happy Taco Tuesday, everyone.
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and you go, wait, am I the asshole?
I mean, like, I guess I have a lot of nightmares, but they're usually not about like scenarios that I question my actions. It's always like things that haven't happened yet. So
really?
So maybe is it like am I the asshole about a thing that hasn't happened yet? That doesn't really make much sense.
And we're the opposite. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and remember the time like I said something not very nice to like a girl in the 4th grade. and I'm like, oh no, I feel so bad about that. Why am I thinking about that?
I don't know. Yeah, I just ruminate over the future that hasn't happened yet. Which one's healthier? Which one's worse for you?
But the future can be great or bad.
Yeah, but it's like, it's catastrophizing, I guess, when you're like, think of all the bad things that could happen.
Yeah, at least I'm thinking about bad things that actually happened.
Yeah. You want to know what's great?
What?
The 3 holo royalty polishes we just launched, because we could not just do 1. And we couldn't just do 2. I had to do 3. I know. Yeah. Well, you know, maybe it was predictable, but I'm happy that I kept it a secret for as long as potentially possible. But yeah, the 3 holo royalty polishes have been launched. We got toe beans, we got glamethyst, we got royal crush. Ben, which one is your favorite?
Toe beans.
Toe beans? Why? Because it's pink like Menchie?
Yes.
I like royal crush because a purple frosted metal obviously had to exist. So shouts out to Holo Royalty. Those are the top members of the Holo Taco loyalty program, and they did really good. So I'm very excited for them that they finally get their purple frosted metal and some extra bonus polishes that we just like couldn't help but release. So thank you guys so much for all your support on the new polishes. We hope that you love them, and it was such a fun process. I feel like we should do this again next year.
All right, let's look at the internets, Cristine. Am I the asshole for blowing my nose in a public bathroom? I'm a 24-year-old female. I'm a cashier at Walmart. I recently had a cold, and I'm still dealing with a stuffy, runny nose. As much as I'd like to just stay home, unfortunately, with retail and holidays, that's not an option for me. I went to the bathroom on my break and blew my nose in a stall to try and prevent more endless sniffling at the register. When I came to wash my hands, an older lady told me that I was disgusting and that you're not supposed to blow your nose in a public bathroom. I apologize, but I also don't know where she expected me to blow my nose.
Okay, like...
You know what's shocking to me? That they even felt the need to go into a bathroom and a stall within a bathroom to blow their nose.
Yeah.
Is there nose blowing etiquette I'm not aware of? Because I've been going through life
just blowing your nose everywhere.
Blowing my nose all sorts of places.
Yeah, blowing your nose at work, at home, in the car.
In this room, on a podcast.
Yeah, on stream.
In the car.
Where don't you blow your nose?
When I'm getting a Subway sandwich.
There is
when
no
I'm
place.
Trying a chicken Big Mac.
I feel like the old lady obviously is the unreasonable one, and the poster must have known that old lady was just suffering from like old lady syndrome, you know. And they know that she's unreasonable.
I've never heard of old lady syndrome.
You haven't?
Is that the technical name?
Yes, it's well defined by the APA. I'm just kidding.
When you're old, when you're an old lady, you just turn mean?
Well, like sometimes. I mean, some people have experience with that. Where just like you get crankier with age and you're just increasingly unreasonable. So this is an example of that. If it was in the definition, if it was in the dictionary, this would be a definition under that.
I'm cranky sometimes, but I couldn't imagine telling someone in a public bathroom they can't blow their nose there.
I mean, like, isn't that one of the things that you should be able to do in a public bathroom under the definition of public bathroom? You're going to do things.
It's not a bathroom activity things. Necessarily.
Yeah,
but the idea I'm more offended by someone blowing their nose than pooping,
is
in
weird.
proximity to me is pretty strange. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider general maintenance of self, you know, whether going to the bathroom, cleaning your face, washing your hands, blowing your nose. Like, those are all items that fall under the list of, like, things I gotta do to reset myself. So wouldn't that fall under the definition of things you do in a bathroom?
Yeah, I could accept that argument. And just even if on the scale of disgusting things that can happen in public bathrooms, blowing your nose.
Lady.
If you're playing Family Feud, blowing your nose is not one of the top responses.
Yeah, like what else has happened in this public bathroom at Walmart that old lady would be shocked at? She's like, what?
You should blow her mind. You should have seen what the person was doing right before this. I'm blowing my nose and blow your mind. Next one. Would I be the asshole if I spend my children's inheritance? Not looking for financial advice, only moral judgment. Also, English is not my first language. I have 3 children, Jason, 25, Monica, 30, and Veronica, 32, and Jughead, 57.
Shut up.
I've always
That's
had a
not
good
true.
relationship with my children, a bit distant after my wife's death, but in general, we have a nice relationship. I received a hefty inheritance from my parents, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. This inheritance is not only a product of my parents' work, but money that has been in my family for decades. So it's expected of me to try and save as much of the inheritance for my children and so on. It's important to mention that in my culture, children are supposed to take care of their parents in their old age. But my mom and dad suffered from diseases that required 24/7 care by the end of their life. This disease runs in the family, so most likely I will suffer from one of them too. A few months ago, I made an offhand comment about going to the doctor for my annual visit. Since my health has been not so great, I said, has anyone talked about who I will live with when I'm old and wrinkly? It was a joking comment, but I'm actually not planning to live with any of my children yet. I guess this comment didn't sit right with any of my children because they told me about 2 months ago that they have decided that they will not be taking care of me when I'm old. They told me that they have to first look out for their own family. The cost of living is rising, etc. It was very hurtful to hear them say that. Since then, I've made the decision to start to plan for my old age. I moved a lot of the funds of my inheritance to my own savings account and plan to go on trips that I've always wanted to go on. While I'm still a bit young and healthy, I plan to pay for this with the inheritance. I mentioned I'm going to Mexico in a few weeks to one of the kids who asked me how I'm going to pay for the trip, and I told her I'm using the inheritance from now on to pay for trips, accommodations, and food. She then called me selfish and accused me of trying to punish them for not following tradition. After that, Monica called her siblings, which in turn called me to tell me that if I start using the inheritance to live a lavish life, then I'm robbing them of the money that their grandparents promised them. Now they're all very mad at me and refuse to talk to me to get to an agreement.
Well, this is fun.
Is this fun?
Like, my first thought is, why be so specific if Poster's going on a vacation and then tell your daughter, I'm spending your inheritance to pay for this little condo, like, or whatever, in my travels. Just be like, I'm just going to Monaco. You know, you don't have to specify.
Monaco.
Didn't he say that?
Who's going to
Monaco? Or
Monaco?
He said Monica, the child. Sorry. I'm confused. Wait, where did he say he was going? Mexico. Sorry. I confused
Mexico,
it.
Monica.
Monaco. I was thinking Italy. Okay.
We're going with Ross and Rachel.
Shut up.
Yeah, this idea of inheritance money is this.
Right.
My money is this. Didn't he just inherit the...
Exactly.
Didn't the person inherit money?
Once you inherit the money, it goes into your bank account unless he's specifying that he set up a separate trust, but I don't think he did. I think he's just like, I got the money and now I'm spending...
Well, we are lacking this information.
Yeah.
It could be the case he inherited like an investment fund that is a stupid amount of money. And the idea of that was to be something passed along. But
Right.
what's interesting to me is this is kind of like you go to a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through or Tim Hortons or something, and like the person in front of you paid for the drink you have, right? And you're like, oh, I want to feel like a good person too, so I'm going to pay for the drink of the person behind me. Eventually, someone's going to not pay for the drink of the person behind them. They're just going to take the free drink.
Eventually, someone's going to be the asshole.
Eventually, well, but are they the asshole? Or they're just like, no, I just got a free drink and I don't have to do the nice thing.
Interesting.
This person is just kind of like, the coffee stops with me.
The coffee, it ends here.
Inheritance over.
Like, I think that Poster is being reactive because he just didn't like that his daughters or his kids were saying, like, actually, we're not going to take care of you in our house when you're older. But it's kind of interesting because Poster is saying they're really, really rich. So technically they have the money and the funds to have the support to take care of them. And their kids cited one of the reasons as like financial stability for not being able to take their parent in and take care of them. So it looks like we have a solution to this problem here because the person who needs taking care of presumably has a bunch of money who could give that money to his kids in part to help take care of him.
This is a very transactional way of looking at it. Like, okay, kids, I will leave you a bunch of money if you don't put me in a home sort of situation, right?
Yeah, but if your kids don't want you in their house, like if that's just not their situation, whether it's because of money or not, I don't think you want to be there. I don't think you want to be in a home living in a space where the people who run that household don't want you there.
And but this is like a generational thing. But yeah, I think it would be hard for people of a certain generation where the tradition very much is for old people to stay in a family home when the younger, more independent generation
is saying like, it doesn't work for my lifestyle or my partner or our children.
But then you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, no, I don't want to follow that tradition, but I do want to follow the tradition of you just giving me all this money.
Interesting.
I actually think I think this person is not the asshole, although I do think it's kind of strange to hold that inheritance as...
I think their actions were petty. I think they didn't have to be like, well, I'm going to spend your inheritance on my vacation. Like, okay, let's not be fucking annoying. Like, that's kind of annoying. I do think that children reserve the right to decide if they're able or feel like they can take care of you when you grow up. It sounds like you have a lot of money, so that like that's not really an issue, but you're more looking for it on an expected compassion level. But I just don't think it's fair to project that expectation on future generations. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I think that it's cultural, and there are some people in cultures where that's like expected, and if you don't do that, you are the asshole. But everyone, lives a different life, and in my particular culture, it's not an expectation. It's what makes the most sense for everyone in the picture, and no one should be doing it out of some kind of like indebted unwritten rule where if you don't do it for your parents, then like you're going to be outcasted or cut out of the will or something.
But do you agree like the consequence of that is, I guess, not necessarily respecting the tradition of you just inheriting a bunch of money?
Sorry, the consequence. Of you seem the children not getting...
It's a little strange to me that your gut reaction is to defend the children not wanting to look after the parent rather than reflecting on their expectation that they should be able to get this money no matter what.
So I don't think anyone should expect to get any money from people who have passed on. I think it's the person who passed on.
So I think that's consistent then.
Yeah, sorry, I was kind of having like a different path of a thought process. But like, in terms of the inheritance rights, I think the person who's gonna die needs to specify what they want. And if that person, the grandparents in the situation, wanted to ensure that their grandchildren who are alive and known to exist, because like you can't always predict future lines. I'm just saying like if they knew that I had 3 grandchildren and I want to take care of them, then they should put that in their will.
Oh, I see. Okay. But as far as parent in this situation, they have no obligation of leaving any money to their kids. I mean, assuming they are adult
legally, children. No, it doesn't appear like it. Legally, it looks like the parent, the poster in this situation, could hypothetically just spend all their money.
Yeah, and that's usually how it is. If family wealth, moves through generations, it's pretty much like the coffee paid forward line. It's sort of up to each subsequent generation.
At one point it's gonna end, and I don't know, I just like generally feel like, okay, I'm not talking about this family in particular, but just generally speaking, I don't think living a life where you're expecting a payout because someone's gonna die is the best way to live your life. I'm not saying that like, there's other circumstances where you want equity for your family to distribute and it should be done fairly and not like mistreating people, whatever, in the process. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I just think like living your life like that is just like a recipe for this, a recipe for people getting upset at each other over someone else's money.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's kind of sad the more I think about it.
I mean, you know what this reminds me of though? Like in the media recently, I don't know if you've heard of this, but like Ashton Kutcher and Milla.
Do you want to say that again?
Ashton Kutcher, sorry. I was thinking of Milla Kunis and I mixed their names. Okay, Ashton Kutcher and Milla Kunis who are a couple and they have children. They've been cited in the past couple weeks recently as like keeping all the money from their kids and not leaving anything to their kids when they die and giving it all to charity.
I saw some headlines about this.
It's been in the media, and the headlines have been basically painting them to be like awful parents, is what I glean from it.
Oh, I thought it was like they are the opposite of like wanting their kids to be nepo-babies. Yeah. That's sort of how it was framed when I saw it.
Yes. Now, all of this, from what I could tell, is based on an interview they did like 6 years ago. Like, there's nothing new. They have not spoken on this at all. So it's just a recycled piece of information. And I find a lot of the Twitter discourse, because that's where I saw it surface again in the last month, is like people hating on Ashton and Milla for choosing that. And their argument is like, well, you guys are so rich, it's incredibly cruel that you would withhold that privilege from your children. How dare you not give anything to your children? And I think that's a kind of a deliberate understanding or misunderstanding of what they said. Because if you look back to the source and like read the transcript from the interview, and not just look at a recent headline that's been pushed recently, because like people love angry shit on Twitter.
What did they actually say?
Yeah. So they actually said something like they didn't want to just set up a giant like $100 million trust for their kids, because they wanted to make sure that their kids were in the best position to kind of appreciate the value of money. So like they would set their kids up for education. They would give kids like an investment in their business if that was a thing. Sure. They would do things to set them kids up for success, but not just give them like a giant amount of money to the extent that like people might conclude they don't need to work at all. So which is like so reasonable. I thought that's super reasonable. But for some reason, I just noticed like the media in general, Twitter, just reading it in the most unfavorable way just so they can shit on them. And it's like, okay, you hate nepo-babies, but you also hate the extreme like fabrication of the opposite of that.
This is just the negative slant makes people more likely to click on an article, I assume.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like I've seen way more examples of discourse around, you know, children of celebrities having huge advantages, especially if they also want to work in media, right? So I want to say, based on like my temperature check, that people are mostly supportive or understanding of the perspective Ashton Kutcher and Milla Kunis are taking, where like, yeah, if your kids know they have like $100 million in a trust account, yeah, will they have motivation to do anything, or will they end up like some like Hollywood baby who just like goes to clubs, like the sort of like, for some reason all that comes to mind for me is like Paris Hilton kind of like she turned that around though, because she started like working and making but people who are like just known as like socialites,
right?
Or, you know, the heiress to something like that. That's something I could see people not wanting to be the identity of their kids.
And yeah, if they care about their legacy, then maybe that's a perspective. But I also think they care about their children, because I think that from their perspective, their logic is pretty reasonable. They don't want their kids to just like always lean back on mommy and daddy's money. You know, they want their kids to be you know, industrious or have discipline and think about how they could grow or build something of their own. And I think that's great for parents to want to instill that in their children. I don't think that means that Ashton and Milla meant that they were going to give their kids zero and not help them and leave them on the streets to figure it out. That's not what they meant at all. Like,
yeah. To me, I feel like there's a huge distinction between rich people who didn't grow up rich and probably how they look at this situation, as opposed to families where there's been a lot of intergenerational wealth and how they would look at that situation, right? Because I feel like with those people specifically, I don't think they grew up with money. I think they've talked very openly about the fact that they grew up pretty poor, actually. So, like, I could see that really influencing how you want to, if you knew that was, like, important to you. But if you're in some, like, you know, I'm in the Hilton family. I don't know why I keep going back to this. Okay. Paris Hilton probably works hard. I don't know.
Yeah, she has many businesses, but I understand.
But you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're in the Hilton family.
Right.
You know you have money. You know you'll always have money. Like, it would be very easy to just end up like...
It's a different approach, right? It's a different approach to inheritance and expectation. Kind of like this this poster's tradition of just expecting this, or the parents.
So are you
just write
saying,
it
let's
down.
say it's alternate universe. There's little Simplies running around.
Oh God. Vengeance
Are you
Island?
well, no, let's imagine they are people that could
Okay.
have a bank account.
They could have jobs one day, yes.
Would you have the approach of just not?
Of Ashton and Milla?
Yeah.
Yes. I would
Okay.
be like Ashton and Milla. Not the unreasonable interpretation of them, but what I think is their realistic interpretation.
You give them sort of a certain amount of privilege in like the opportunities you give them.
They would have that.
Yes.
That would just exist.
But you
Yes.
wouldn't want them growing up just thinking that I can fail my way into a pile of money.
No. I would give them, part of a down payment towards their home, but they would have to prove that they're able to support the rest of it by working or whatever it is. If they had like a business idea or they wanted to go to college or university for something, I would help them do that. But I feel like there's also kind of a clock and a limit and reasonable expectations on that, because someone can say like, hey, I want to go to school for 4 years. And then a parent can be like, okay, I want to support you in that. And then the child may just decide to like not do anything after that out of their own volition because they don't want to. So I feel like at a certain point though, parents have to kind of evaluate after you've been giving your child, a lot to set them up. It is case by case basis, and it's kind of a time analysis here over how long you've been, helping them out. But I think absolutely you set them up for success, but it's up to them to make something out of that.
This sounds great, but I think like, let's say I'm Ashton Kutcher and I've got $100 million in the bank.
Yeah, tuition isn't that much compared to $100 million.
It would feel pretty strange not to share that with the people you love and care about the most, right?
What do you mean not share it though? Like parents don't have to just give their kids
But
money.
isn't one of the things, I mean, this is different for us because we don't have kids and don't want kids, but like, I think part of
But like take them on vacation, buy them birthday presents, no problem.
I think building the sort of building wealth for a lot of people is to protect your family and set your family up to be comfortable. So I think like there's almost this tendency to just want to give your children
things.
Everything.
Yeah, and that's how you make spoiled brats. I mean, not always, but I think that's the risk of just giving your children everything and anything they ask
like,
for.
If I'm not leaving, if I've got $100 million and like, yeah, I paid for your school and stuff, I've still got 99 point something million dollars left over. Are we saying I'm not leaving that to my kids? Who am I leaving it to? Charity, I guess.
I think charity should be always a part of extremely rich people's plans.
Or do they get the assets? Because like you hear this all the time, like Bill Gates, like I don't want my kids to just be.
Yeah,
but, like,
he said the same thing.
If I own like
But
10,
he also
10
like
homes.
He also like helped his daughter buy like a $40 million apartment in New York or something like that. So like I don't really know. I just remember seeing some information on that. Yeah.
And that seems more likely.
But is
to
it
me.
just about relativity? Like relative to your portfolio, maybe buying his daughter a $40 million apartment.
I don't
not
care
much.
what context you grow up in. A $40 million apartment sounds insane to me, but yeah, I suspect a lot of these people, it might not be as explicit as like, I'm throwing you handfuls of cash, as much as it's like, well, if I had that wealth and I own a $50 million vacation, a private island somewhere, like,
But, like, are you gonna...
someone's getting that and they're not just leaving it all to charity, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would just... Your kid could enjoy your private island, your hypothetical private island, whatever. But, like, just giving them money while you're alive and they're not necessarily doing much with it, I guess is what I wouldn't want to do.
What do you think about getting a private island?
I think it's not necessary.
Well, of course, it's not necessary.
Stupid. Sorry,
Well,
what?
like
Is this a serious question?
Well, yeah, because sometimes
Yes,
I keep an
stop.
eye on
On private islands?
Well, here's the thing: you could go off like the coast of Maine. There's a bunch of little islands.
Why would you want that? Just to say you own a private island? Like,
It'd be pretty fun to say you own an
I
island.
don't care about that at all. I do, like, I don't know, I don't care.
But I'm not talking like, stupid millionaire money. I'm just saying like,
What? How
it's
much
like,
is a private island off the coast of Maine?
I bet you could find an island that's like $1 million. It's probably a very small island.
What about one of the 1,000 islands?
There's 1,000 islands there.
In
They
Ontario?
can't all be more than $1 million.
There's literally a place called Thousand Islands in
Yeah,
in,
there's
Ontario.
It's right on the border between Ontario and upstate New York.
Are any of the Thousand Islands for sale?
Yeah, there's islands there for sale a lot.
Okay.
It's like cottage country.
Would you buy one of those islands if you had to live there forever and you couldn't leave?
It would be a little annoying to only be able to get to your home by a boat.
But you can't leave once you go there.
What do you mean I can't leave?
No, that's
Why
the
can't
deal.
I leave?
If you want to buy a Thousand Island, you got to stay on there.
Are you trying to get rid of me? Like you'll drop me off on a boat and I can't leave?
It's a social experiment. Like you can have your fucking
Social
island,
experiment.
but you got to stay on it
Why do I have to stay on it?
just to see if you can make it. It's a sustainability exercise. See if you survive.
With no resources? No, I don't think I would
We can get you
survive.
some resources. We'll get you like
You'll
some
throw,
matches.
You'll throw some food at me
some
from the
Fiji
mainland.
water. We'll give you some hummus.
I need an airdrop
Okay.
of hummus.
We need to get some import-export bills for hummus.
So you just wouldn't come to the island? Like
No,
I'm there
I'd
alone?
come.
But you could leave and I can't?
Yeah, well, it's your island.
Why are you trapping me on an
I don't know.
island?
It's just funny. And we can live stream you. We can live stream you the whole time. And then you can pay for your hydro bills that way.
Okay, I would stream from this private island.
So you need internet.
You need to, if you buy the island, I will spend a year on the island.
What am I going to do without you here, though?
You're the one trying to banish me to
No,
an
I
island.
don't actually want. No deal. No
Handshake,
deal.
handshake
no
deal.
deal.
We could write it off its content.
The island?
The island.
No.
It's like Mr. Beast. I bought an
My
island and
island.
trapped these people here.
It does sound like a Mr. Beast. What's going on with my brain, Ben? It's not okay.
Right now?
Yeah.
don't
Why am
know.
I thinking like a Mr. Beast video? Okay, the internet has ruined
I've
my
got
brain.
Mr. Beast brain. All right.
Okay, what's the
next one? Am I the asshole for ruining a proposal? My girlfriend just bought a house and is so excited. She invited a ton of people over for a housewarming. She put a lot of work into it, everything. The house looks amazing and the food was delicious. Right after dinner, while my girlfriend was getting dessert, her brother proposed to his girlfriend. I was mad because he hijacked my girlfriend's event that she had worked so hard for. Before she could answer, I told him to sit down and quit being so rude and disrespectful to his sister. He was mad, but his girlfriend looked so embarrassed they ended up leaving. The party was very awkward after that. Imagine that. A lot of people left early. My girlfriend's mom was furious at me because she wanted her son to stop living in sin and ruined it. My girlfriend said I was sweet but didn't need to do that. Her brother texted me calling me a prick. Was I an asshole for telling them to have some class?
Class?
Yeah, it's a pretty weird choice to propose at
I agree.
some random
but, like,
person's
does that
housewarming
make you
party.
not classy?
Or not
Okay,
random
whatever.
person. It's the brother.
Yeah, so girlfriend bought a house, very exciting time in her life, and had people over. But then the girlfriend's brother just decided to propose.
Is this
At her
is
house.
this really a problem? I know there are certain
But
sort
like, why
of.
would you? Okay, this is just weird.
It's a weird choice to make for the guy proposing.
What
at
about
that
the
event.
person being proposed to? What do they think of being proposed to at, sister-in-law
They-
technically? Yeah.
They didn't even really give them a chance to respond.
But like still, like does that I don't know. In the context
It's
of
weird.
proposals, you generally think people are like excited about it when it's in a space that they identify with or are close to, something that's meaningful, not disrupting someone else's moment. Like I feel like the people in the proposal, the proposer and the proposee, like are they both excited about being in that atmosphere for that moment? Like that's weird, right? Like,
Yeah, but maybe they're just weird people.
just like randomly propose.
The real question here, and the am I the asshole, is the person who interrupted the proposal on behalf of his girlfriend, whose event he thinks was being ruined by this, were they in the wrong, not the proposer or the receiver of the proposal?
I mean, I still go back to the root of the problem, which I think was it appropriate to propose
not
in that environment?
But that's not the question.
I know.
If I'm hosting a housewarming
Okay.
and my sibling chooses to propose to their partner there, I would think it's weird, but I don't
It's like
think
if,
I
if
would.
Matt was proposing to his partner here
Yeah.
and I intervened, would be the equivalent, right?
I'd probably feel
Would I be the asshole?
I think so.
But it's my house. It's also their house.
Is it on the private island?
Banish him. Throw him in the water.
They can't leave. I feel like the internet seemed to agree that this person was not the asshole for interrupting.
In their own house.
Yeah, and it sort of sided with the idea of the proposal was hijacking the party. But I don't really see a housewarming as something that could be...
Legal point. Okay.
Legal point?
Property rights. Where are you where are you proposing, and do you have full rights to that space? I think proposing literally on someone else's property while they are celebrating this
is a crazy perspective.
This is the crazy legal extension. Yeah, they're celebrating the acquisition of their new real property, and it's
real property.
It's on their property, and you're like doing some other contractual shit because you're saying, "Will you get in a marriage contract with me?" It's like, get the fuck off my property.
It's not an appropriate venue for this legal exchange.
No jurisdiction.
Wait, so okay, well, let's follow your logic for a second. If they're inside the house, clearly the case.
On the property at all. Where's the property line?
Okay,
Get the fuck off the backyard.
Let's say they're in the backyard. Maybe it's a fire pit. Maybe dessert is roasting marshmallows.
Is it inside the property line or not?
Maybe they're off the property. Maybe it's not really clear if they're even on the property still.
Whose property are they on?
But the event is still hosted. Maybe they're on public land. Maybe they're in the driveway.
That's still their property
Maybe
line.
the laneway has an easement. You know, maybe it's
the
actually
neighbors are entitled to
No. The city owns the first 20 feet of the driveway.
Okay, then
the city has to approve the proposal. The mayor.
The mayor has to step in. He's a co-defendant in this case.
Who's suing who at this point?
He's being subpoenaed. I think if it's not on their property, then there's less of a case here, honestly. It's a little gray.
You think you need to approve every agreement anyone ever makes in your house or on your property?
It's not an approval. It's just like, if it's your space and you own it, then you have more leeway to say, like, stop this shit, whatever it is. Whether people are being drunk and fucking annoying, whether your family's getting in an argument and you're telling people to leave, or whether people are proposing and just ruining your moment. It's kind of up to you to be like, can you please leave my property?
You're not wrong. You could kick someone off your property for any reason.
Yeah, so they could intervene.
Or for no reason at all.
They intervened and said, get out, get off my property. This is a private property,
So I'm not saying, no one's arguing they don't have the right to do this.
I know. I'm just like, what else could we try and use?
For me, if we take it a little seriously for a second, for me, it really just comes down to whether you see a housewarming as an event that is ruined by someone else proposing. I don't think of a housewarming as like I could understand if like you're having, your own wedding and you just are really bothered by someone else proposing at your wedding.
You see a lot of that on Reddit too.
But still, for me, it's like it's the importance of that event and someone trying to take the attention away from you.
So it's the nature of the milestone.
Yeah,
it's
and to me,
characteristic
don't get me wrong, a housewarming could be a very important thing to you, but I guess I don't look at it in a way where, like, for me, it would bother me.
Are you saying that the importance of a proposal overrides the importance of a housewarming moment? You're saying that the proposal should be allowed because the housewarming just is not as important as a milestone?
It's not that the proposal is more important. It's just that the event of the housewarming itself isn't so important that it's rude for someone else to announce they're pregnant or like do something that takes away attention from the housewarming. Which is more important
than a housewarming. So you are agreeing.
But it could be more or less important. I guess you'd only care if it's more important because only something more important would take attention away.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
But just like having a party because you bought a house, again, for you, that might be a hugely important thing. For me, I guess I just don't have the context of that being something that feels like it has to, like, everyone's attention must be on this, and this is what we're all here celebrating.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little narcissistic to expect that no one's going to share any good life news while you're having your
proposing at someone else's party is a little narcissistic.
Is also narcissistic, yeah. So there's a few narcissistic parties under this agreement, and then they never agree to anything. I still think it's weird to do this proposal at someone else's event that is unrelated. Like, I think that makes it not that special for the proposer and the proposee. So I'm concerned about them and like the choice being made there. And then the consequence of that kind of decision is the interruption. But like that interruption would have never occurred had you not chosen to do the proposing in someone else's space where they were celebrating an unrelated milestone. So I think this whole situation could have been avoided.
Yeah, I don't know why it needed to be avoided. If it's me, if I'm holding a housewarming party on my private island where I'm trapped, if someone proposed at that, whether it's my brother or just some friend, it would be like, my housewarming party was so good, people are like deciding to spend their lives together. Yeah. Like I wouldn't see anything really bad about that.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't give a shit either. Like, I don't give a shit.
To be clear, I don't really care about any of this.
I don't care if you propose like at my party. I don't have parties. I don't even have parties. So no one's proposing.
That's how you keep people
That's
from.
That's how you stay out of it. Yeah, for sure. I just think that there's so much drama over proposals and where they are and people's parties and people ruining other people's moments. And it's just too much for me.
That's easy. You say every moment's your moment.
What?
You know, you're famous. You're on the internet. Everyone loves you.
Okay, Ben. Ben's ready. He's.
You don't know what it's like for the normies out there.
He's preparing his speech before he goes to his private island.
I don't want to be all alone. Will you come?
Worry.
You'll come visit.
We'll Zoom.
We'll Zoom? Oh my God.
Ben, I'm just kidding.
Oh my
okay,
God.
what's the next one?
Am I the asshole for packing my kid in quote unquote inappropriate lunch?
Who has jurisdiction over this lunch?
I am a 34-year-old woman. I have a 5-year-old boy who attends preschool. A few hours after I picked him up from school today, I got a phone call from his teacher. She made absolutely no effort to sound kind when she, in an extremely rude and annoyed tone, told me to stop packing my son such a disgusting and inappropriate lunches. I felt absolutely appalled when she said this, and as me and the teacher have up until now have always maintained a very friendly relationship, she added that the lunches I'm packing my son are distracting for the other students and have an unpleasant odor. I told her that I understand her concerns, as the lunches I pack are definitely not the healthiest, but the lunches are according to my son's preferences. The usual lunch I send to him to school with is small celery sticks with blue cheese and goat cheese, kimchi and Spam. We are Korean, and he absolutely adores this dish. And spicy Doritos marinated in sriracha sauce. I know, but he deserves a snack, and I don't put that many chips in the baggie. I ended the call by saying that I very much appreciated her worries, but that at the end of the day, I'm not going to drastically change my son's lunches all of a sudden, and that it's not my fault other students are distracted by his meal. It is very important to me important to me what my son enjoys and want him to like my lunches. The teacher sent an email to me an hour ago saying that my response was unacceptable and that the lunches are just too inappropriate to be sent to school any longer. I haven't responded yet and don't want to. I want to maintain a healthy relationship with my son's teachers. I am confused as to what to do. Am I the asshole?
So wait, did the teacher say this was like a complaint from other parents or students, or the teacher just out of the blue wrote this email?
Sounds like teacher's complaint, but I guess we're making an assumption there. Yeah. I think to get the obvious thing out of the way, I don't think anyone will defend how the teacher is going about this. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm ignorant of the sort of, if this is like a normal lunch to have, like in certain cultures or something like that, right? I looked at the responses to this one, and a lot of the top responses were just suggesting that the teacher is racist or at least culturally insensitive for singling out these types of food. I guess I don't know that because I don't know if blue cheese and kimchi and Spam are like, if that's like a cultural thing or just like a choice sort of independent of culture. So I just feel like I'm sort of ignorant of that aspect of it.
Maybe it's not all those things, but it could just be a couple of those things, which kind of makes the teacher zone in on it.
Maybe. Because, and you're right. A lot of these things, it's like relative, right? Like, is the teacher calling home about like
my smelly French
fries smell too much? Yeah, probably not, right? So I could totally see that being part of the problem here and part of the inappropriateness on the teacher's part.
The inappropriate claim was that they were too smelly? Like, what was the language on the first one?
Disgusting, inappropriate, and distracting.
Distracting because of unpleasant odor, quote. Okay, so unpleasant odor is subjective sometimes. Well, because some foods are very smelly, but they smell good to some people and bad to others, like your brother. Your brother.
What about my brother?
He loves durians.
He does love durians.
Most people think they're fucking disgusting. Like the smell, the smell
they
of them.
are.
Okay, well, whatever. He loves them, but they're very smelly
9 out of 10 people
But then-
agree durians are disgusting.
But then there's very smelly food that smells good to most people, like a freshly baked chocolate cake, or like if you go to a fast food joint, you go to McDonald's and you bring that lunch in, it's very smelly. Like if you brought that in at work, people would be like, oh my God, someone got fast food. But people are saying that it smells good, I guess, so they're not upset. But I think that is subjective because some people find the smell of fast food maybe like disgusting, right? So I don't think you can universally say that an unpleasant odor is like a statement of fact here.
Here's the position.
Unless it's like poo, I guess. Maybe universally agree. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe some people like the smell of poo. I don't know.
Maybe.
Sorry, go on.
Well, my position is just, I think in any context where you're eating your lunch around a bunch of other people, like for me, my head goes to like being in an office. Like we used to pack lunches for the office sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's a little inconsiderate to bring lunches into the workplace anyway that were very smelly. But like, whether you think most people agree smelly? That those smells are good or not.
Okay, but like any meal you take to work and then heat up in the microwave smells.
No, come on. Let's be honest for a second.
Spaghetti.
Some things smell way more than
Chef
other
Boyardee
things.
Fucking smells.
I love shawarma. Okay?
Yeah.
Give me all the garlic sauce. I love it.
Some people probably hate that smell.
I would not have walked. I felt guilty if I went out for lunch, ate that, and came back to work because I knew I just kind of smelled like garlic. So sometimes I would make that selfish decision and just do it. But most of the time, I think... And
then you were the asshole.
I think there's a bit of a responsibility we all have. We all live in a society not to bring incredibly smelly foods into places. And this isn't like judging any culture's food more than another. I have the exact same perspective on, freedom fries as I do on kimchi, potentially.
Okay, but... he's 5, and this is kindergarten.
Okay, we're talking about a 5-year-old.
Okay, he's 5, and this is kindergarten.
An adult is packing the lunch.
Right, but the kid, unlike you at work, can't just, like, go outside, walk down the street, go to the shawarma store, and eat there. And enjoy the food that he or you want, right? Whereas in this example, it's like, I'm in school, and there's like 27 kids in my class, or whatever, and we're all eating together. Like, he can't escape it like you can. So that means that he's not able under this logic to consume what he wants because he's not in an area where he can like freely just leave and go eat what he wants and come back like you at work. So well, you have the choice to do that. He doesn't. But
the parent has a choice to what to pack.
But that's a different argument. I'm trying to keep the consumer of food happy here because you at work can be happy by just going to leave and getting shawarma, and your coworkers are happy because you left. The kid can't do that.
I would have been happiest just eating shawarma at my desk, right?
But you were considerate and didn't. But you are able to do that. The kid doesn't have the capacity to leave and go be happy. So you're saying that he can't be happy.
The guardian of the child has the capacity to make the decision not to always give the kid the stinkiest foods they like.
But then the kid won't be happy because he maybe likes the stinky food, let's just say. So unless the guardian takes him out just to eat his food that's unpleasant to others in the car for lunch and then brings him back, then everyone is happy. But I just think that's probably not a realistic outcome. Realistic. Yeah, but I'm trying to keep you and the child happy.
Can the child not be happy not always only eating of all their favorite foods, they all have to have a strong odor?
Can you be happy never eating hummus again?
No.
The
answer is no, but
saying.
I could understand how other people might be annoyed if my office smelled like hummus all the time. I feel like this is like a totally reasonable take, right? This is our kitchen. I feel like people are going to be upset by this, and I'm a little nervous about saying this, but like, isn't there an argument here that like...
You're not wrong, but you're not wrong because you are able to have the courtesy to like leave and whatever. But in this situation, the kid can't do that. So in the event where you can't...
But the parent has the choice here.
But the parent is making the choice to either give the kid food that other people don't like but keeps the kid happy, or give food that other people can be okay with, but then the kid's not happy. But in your scenario, you're happy either way. Do you see? It's not the same thing.
I think, here, if I can bring it back for a second, I think the issue here is that the teacher is maybe just reacting to these foods being not foods they are used to seeing. more so than they're like, because honestly, like putting hot sauce on Doritos, like I'm not going to debate whether that's like healthy to give your kid or not, but like I don't think that would stink up the place. Spam, does spam smell a lot? I don't really know. Probably not. I hate blue cheese, but I don't think it fills the room with an odor. So kimchi seems like the only thing here to me that is the potential aggravating factor if the reasoning is authentically about the unpleasant odor, because otherwise it seems like the teacher just might not like foods they aren't used to seeing and is unfairly judging or is prejudicial against like another culture's food potentially.
Yeah.
But for me, like I feel like you could reasonably like debate that or agree with that and be reasonable about that, but also acknowledge that just bringing really stinky foods into a classroom or an office setting is something people should be a little bit sensitive to, I think.
Yeah, I understand that you're also trying to be like, you can't just do whatever you want and not consider the people around you.
The durian example you gave of my brother. Yeah, some people love durians. Most people think they smell and taste like rotten meat.
Yeah.
I think you'd be a jerk to send your kid to kindergarten every day with a bag full of durian and would make that kid's classroom smell like rotten flesh every day.
If that was the example, I think I'm more inclined to ask questions.
But then it's sort of subjective, right? Like where the stinkiness
You're right. No,
threshold is.
It is subjective. If I was the teacher, though, I would not.
Teacher handled this terribly.
I would not do what the teacher did. Yeah.
Because I imagine there are all sorts of instances where teachers, there's probably a lot of sensitivities around like you notice a kid getting like really unhealthy lunches and stuff. I do not envy that position at all. I feel it's probably something you have to deal with a lot of sensitivity and like, yeah, how you address that without embarrassing anyone. That's a hard situation to deal with.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So I feel like it's a pretty extreme measure to be calling up. It doesn't seem appropriate to me to be calling up parents and just like lecturing them for lunches being bad.
It just seems like it's not worth it. Like if I'm the teacher, is it worth it to do this and raise this to the parents when it could definitely be like, incentive?
For the teacher, this is her workplace that she thinks smells terrible every day because of one kid's lunch. Though.
So open the fucking window. Like just like whatever. Like I don't know. To me, like people eat smelly shit around me. I just leave. I guess teacher can't leave. But like you know what I mean. Open the window.
Teacher, that's the answer. Teacher just leaves.
I don't know. It's just. Some things aren't worth it. However, I don't know how...
You're just a very non-confrontational person.
Yeah, I also don't like confrontation, so I would have not confronted via email.
If I was in the office and someone was constantly bringing in very smelly food...
You would just leave.
I don't know if I would confront them, but I would think of that as rude.
You would hate them in your head. Which is like what most people would do. They would just be like, I fucking hate this.
So my 30-year-old coworker, I would try to find out who their parent is. And I would call them at home.
No, email them.
No, I'd phone them because they don't understand email.
Right.
I would phone them and tell them that their children's lunch choice is unacceptable.
Even though it's not the parent making them anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe they inherited the bad lunch. It's
Inherited
passed down.
Yeah.
It's tradition, Ben, to inherit the bad lunch. Okay, what's the next one?
Next one. Am I the asshole for demolishing my daughter's room after she moved out? My 18-year-old daughter, Meg, is in college. She moved in with her boyfriend a few months ago, which left her old bedroom empty. Her bedroom used to be right next to our tiny living room. So to make our tiny living room into a normal-sized living room, we knocked out my daughter's room's wall, refloored the space, and fixed the walls. Now it looks like the bedroom was never there, and we have a spacious living room. When my daughter came home to visit and saw that her room was gone, she made a huge deal about it. She got all emotional and said if we never wanted to let her move back, we should have just said so instead of completely demolishing her room. I told her that if anything happens and she needs to move back, we will welcome her and she could sleep on the couch as long as she wants. But she accused us of wanting to get rid of her forever and for her to never visit us since we got rid of her room so fast, only a few months after she moved out, and we should have waited longer. Am I the asshole for not waiting longer with the renovation? Sounds like daughter. It sounds like there's a deeper issue here of daughter feeling like you
can't wait
very
to get rid of
happy
me.
for her to be gone, and
Yeah.
because like from a purely rational, daughter doesn't need room anymore.
And
I want to
parents now
renovate
have
my home
house.
to make
Yeah.
it more comfortable. I mean, maybe the choice to like not have a room daughter can stay in when she comes to visit, that's a choice. So it's at least signaling that, like, hey, you want to come home to visit, you won't have the privacy or space of your own room anymore. And that being done very quickly is maybe a little strange.
Yeah, I could see that.
So-
On an emotional level, if you're the daughter and you just freshly moved out at 18 and now you're trying to return for Thanksgiving a few months later and like everything is gone, it can feel a bit abrupt. Absolutely. I could see this from that perspective. But yeah, if you're talking like from a rational perspective, parents have provided the home for the child to live in. The child chose to leave. I'm like, okay, we're doing it both ways. I just said I acknowledge the other way. But this way is like the 18-year-old, now an adult, chose to move out, went to college, moved in with her boyfriend, which presumably was done at her own free will and not her parents kicking her out. I think that would be a bit different, but I'm not getting any information on that.
Speculate on that, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, but like, okay, so I moved out when I was 17 at my own volition. I moved into residence, and my parents left my room as it was because there was an understanding that I would come home every holiday. I'd come home in the summers and work my summer job from there. Now that didn't last. But maybe
maybe that's why this is insensitive. Because to me, like.
But it depends on the expectations. Like it. Also, my sister was still living there, so they weren't, changing the house or selling the place because I'm 3 years older than her. So.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit different when you still have siblings living at home, even though you left first.
I could understand, though, the feeling of not abandonment, but...
It would feel like to the daughter that her parents couldn't wait to get rid of her, for sure.
And that's a bad feeling. So I do feel like there is at least a lack of sensitivity here. But I also see the perspective that, like, this room is just empty now. Daughter is moved out, is in, like, a safe... situation. She is an adult. She has made a decision. I can also understand just not wanting to, sacrifice a big portion of the comfort of your living experience and your quality of life just for a room for
the
Christmas.
Potential thing that you don't know yet if your daughter's gonna need to come back.
I mean, you could maybe guess that moving in with a boyfriend at 18 might not be a permanent situation. So I think maybe the conversation about, hey, there's always a place for you here, like you're always welcome in our home, maybe should have happened before daughter just like came home one day to visit and her room disappeared.
And they probably should have discussed that, like just let the daughter know that if they had any thoughts or plans to change
and
the room,
not for
they
like
could have
permission
like
as much as it's just like a respectful
like
thing.
a nice thing to do. Yeah, and it does feel like, okay, when you're that young and you don't know if things are going to work out, which is like everyone who's 18. You don't know if you're moving in with your boyfriend's going to work out. You don't know if college and the city you moved to is going to work out.
Yeah.
It does feel nice to know that it's where
like
you came from, your parents usually are still there for you. Even if you don't need to go back or resort to that, it just feels like nice that you have that support. It's almost supportive. So it feels like the parents just quickly like canceled the visibility of any such support. So it made it harder for the daughter, even if she didn't really like need it necessarily, because we haven't seen that yet.
And that's why I think the daughter needs the feeling of support more than she physically
actually
needs a room.
Exactly. Bingo. And she felt like she didn't have that support because it just says like...
they didn't seem all that sympathetic to her reaction to it.
Accused us of wanting to get rid of her forever. So to me, that line, the daughter was like upset probably about more than just her room. But exactly, Ben, it's not just her room. She felt like she didn't have support from her parents.
What if the parents bought her a private island, but they said you can't leave the island for a year and we get to film you on the island and put it on the internet?
Sounds like maybe people that exist on YouTube, like family channels.
It sounds like what you wanted to do to me 20 minutes ago.
I'm just talking shit. I don't even know what I was saying anyway.
All right. Next one. Am I the asshole for kicking my son's girlfriend out of our house? My husband's 58. I'm 56. Recently, we met my 24-year-old son's girlfriend for the first time. He's been crazy about her. Apparently, they've been dating for a year, but before they decided to have her meet us officially. What he told us about her all seems great. She just got her degree, was enjoying her job, she's family oriented, etc. I'm honestly just glad he's happy with her, My husband and I don't even think he's ever been this into someone before, so I feel pretty bad about what happened. Last weekend, he brought her over for dinner. By now, we'd been anticipating meeting her with how much our son has been gushing about her, how perfect she is, how she's the one, in his words. They ring the doorbell, and when we open the door, she looks exactly like her pictures, which is a great start. Weird comment. My son is grinning ear to ear. Another great start. We invite them in. She accepts my hug and a firm handshake from my husband. Then she opens her mouth and says, "I'm the one your son puts his penis in." To be frank, I was appalled. I expected my husband to laugh because both he and my son are jokesters. And as annoying as it can be, I love it. But this was just too much for me. Maybe I'm reserved, but of all the things she could have shared about my son, she told us that. One look at my face and my husband knew how much I disapproved. Maybe I let my expectations get too high and it's unfair to them, but I reiterate, of all the things to say to her boyfriend's parents, whom she'd never met, she chose that. My son was amused at first, but when he noticed my reaction, his face dropped. I felt like he'd sold me on the full package, everything he'd always been looking for in a girlfriend. I was too disturbed by the visual it put in my head, and it translated into anger. I told her to get out, and I wanted to say more about how gross it made me feel, but I fortunately left it at that. My son didn't want to go, insisting I give her another chance, but I was too fed up and uncomfortable at this point. Even my husband, who's enjoyed his fair share of raunchy jokes, wouldn't let up. They left, and I immediately felt guilty. This was something my son had really looked forward to, and I felt like I took that away over a dumb joke. I tried calling to apologize, but he hasn't responded. My husband thinks she's the one who should apologize. I'm considering giving her another chance, but before I do that, was I the asshole? There is a happy ending here. I sort of looked into this one in the comments that they eventually did come together and both sort of apologize, acknowledge how it was like an incredibly awkward thing, and I think they moved past it. So a happy ending.
First impressions, eh?
That's pretty...
Like, wow, that's a wild one to choose.
The things you could say.
Do you think it was just like nervousness and thinking of like the stupidest things you could say and then telling yourself, don't say it,
if this
and then saying it?
Yeah. If this isn't a fake story and this actually happened, it seems to me like, yeah, that is the product of someone being incredibly anxious and nervous about a situation and doing like the exact thing they were nervous and anxious about doing.
Or they are just a person who wants to cause shit and thinks that's funny to get a reaction. It's possible.
I'm sure some people like that exist, but they're few and far between, you know?
I mean, I'm glad that it sounds like they got over it, but like, that's kind of fucking crazy.
It's wild.
Like, why would you say that?
I mean, there might be people who like humor like that is totally fine in their families.
And I agree, but you got to test the waters first. You got to
get
in.
You got to say,
hey, nice to meet you. So nice to meet you. You got to settle in for at least 10 minutes. Like, at least, like, just
that's a really good point.
To know.
Let's if you meet a significant other's family for the first time, that is like a
you
feels
gotta judge
like it can be a big moment. But you dip your toe in the water, you feel it out. You're being reserved. You're being respectful. I think that's how normal people approach this.
You're kind of mirroring them a little bit, so you know what's appropriate.
There often is like a moment of enormous relief when you have that first moment where like someone makes a joke or says something where like, oh, we can be a little bit, we can be a little human, we can relax.
Yeah.
This girl she went right for that.
This is not relaxing at all.
Yeah. Wait until dessert to talk about their son's penis. They were
still at the front door. Like she hadn't even taken her fucking shoes off. Like chill.
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, it could be a funny story they tell later in life.
At the wedding, during
the proposal at brother's housewarming.
Housewarming party, yeah, exactly. Okay, you want to do one more?
Sure.
Am I the asshole for forcing my friends to watch my favorite movie despite all of them hating it? We recently all came together as a friendship group for a movie night. It was my turn to choose the movie, and I really wanted to watch my favorite movie, Muppets Most Wanted sing-along version. But my whole friend group hates it because I choose it every time. I clicked on the movie and my friends groaned and left the room saying I'd ruined the night. I didn't care if they watched it with me, but I didn't want them to have fun without me. So I forced them to watch it by guilt-tripping them. I recently lost my cousin-in-law, so I could use that against them. I didn't even really want to watch the movie. I just knew I could force them to watch it and enjoyed it. I understand why people will instantly think I'm the asshole when reading this, but you must understand that they didn't even say anything like, let's try watching something else, or how about we play a game instead. Instead, they just went straight to leaving and cussing me out. We started watching it, and 4 minutes in, we were way through my favorite song, We're Doing a Sequel, when they started to storm out one by one. This was 1 month ago. I haven't heard from them since. I've tried contacting them, but they always ignore me. I can see their social media profiles that they continue to have movie nights without me. The worst part, they watched Muppets Most Wanted yesterday and sent me a photo to annoy me. They watched the Muppets without her.
The friends wanted to be like, fuck you, bitch. Like, basically. They probably didn't even watch it. They just sent
this is a moment in your life to, you know, it's never too late to change the kind of person you are. Mm-hmm. So, like, this person has some self-awareness that, like, they got some joy over controlling their friends and trying to force them to watch a movie they hate.
They got control out, or they got joy out of torturing their friends with a movie.
Yeah. Are they friends?
Yeah, that's what the vibes I get is like, I don't think these people are your friends. I don't think you know this yet. Maybe you're going to learn it later, but they don't like you when you treat them like this. And I think if anything good comes from the internet, if anything, is that this person, if this person posting this and probably being met with comments explaining to them why they are cruel to their friends and how that's not fair and not something you do when you treat someone as a friend in a friend relationship. So maybe that occurred to them and they got some insight further to posting this.
If we took out their sort of strange motivation of like enjoying the fact that their friends didn't want to watch it for a second, let's just say you were hanging out with your friends and you often have movie night and everyone else just like hated your choice of movies, or you had a favorite movie that you loved and they didn't want to watch. Like, you can watch the movie without your friends and not put them through that awful not put them through that experience.
It's weird because like if I had something that I liked and I know everyone else hated, I wouldn't want to bring it up because I would feel embarrassed because everyone would just remind me of how much they hate the thing that I like. So I'd probably just keep it to myself. So this is such a strange environment. Like I would never do this.
I've had trouble understanding this one so much because like if you actually care about these people, maybe you just want to share the thing you love with them. And then it would be sort of hard to deal with the fact that something you love so much.
Yeah, but the poster knows this. The poster knows full well they hate it. It's not like the first introduction and then finding out your friends hate it. This is like, he's like, no, I fucking know you hate it.
I guess maybe I'm trying to find any goodwill in here. Because it's like, I love Bob Dylan. Mm-hmm. I know you don't want to sit around and listen to Bob Dylan. And it's like I get that. And I'm not going to force you to listen to Bob Dylan. But it would be really nice. I would really enjoy it if we were just to go on a drive and listen to a record, a Bob Dylan record. Bob Dylan, yeah. Okay. So it is. I can sympathize with like not being able to share something you love with the people you love.
Yeah, that's fine. But like you're a reasonable person, so you know that Bob Dylan comes off as kind of whiny in tempo and vocals.
You don't think he has a good voice? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really a connoisseur of Bob Dylan, but. You know, occasionally when you've played it, I find that it's not really the music that is comforting to my brain. I find that it's like migraine inducing.
Is that how you think about music? What's comforting to my brain?
It's discomforting to my brain, but that's subjective.
Do you know what's going to be playing 24/7 on the island?
Taylor Swift.
Bob Dylan.
What about Taylor Swift? Modernized, Ben. Modernization.
Taylor Swift is no Bob Dylan.
What?
I like Taylor Swift, but she's no Bob Dylan.
Well, yeah, she's Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah,
totally different.
Taylor Swift wrote Illicit Affairs. Bob Dylan wrote Wigwam.
Okay, and? I'm like, okay.
The Man in Me.
What's your point?
I like Bob Dylan.
Okay, you're allowed to like Bob Dylan.
Thank you for letting me like Bob Dylan.
Well,
what's your favorite Bob Dylan song?
I do not recall.
Could you name a single Bob Dylan song? See, this is actually an issue, right? I don't love nail polish. Obviously, the big part of our lives, but I could name 100 nail polishes.
I wonder why you could name 100 nail polishes by Holo Taco. I wonder why that is.
I can name things you love, probably more than you can name things I love.
Okay, but if you're relating it to things that we do together in business, then I don't think
That
it's
is
really the
unfair.
same comparison.
But this
Ben.
could be a podcast episode.
If you start a hummus business,
You would know all my flavors of hummus?
and I work with you, or I help somewhere in the backside, or I'm doing like graphics
Backside.
or the back end, sorry, or I'm doing like content for you, and as a result I've become familiar with your hummus flavors
Yeah.
and whatever, then yeah, I would know more. Like,
So we'll only share in each other's interest if it's a business opportunity.
that's not what I mean either. I just mean
That was very unfair. I just thought
but
it was
like
funny.
Ben just likes being a devil's advocate. Dick.
No, don't put that on me. There's a Bob Dylan documentary by Martin
Okay.
Scorsese.
You like him, right?
Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
I thought Wolf of Wall Street was kind of
I saw that. It was a lot. It was
a lot of people enjoyed that movie because it glorified a pretty awful person's lifestyle. And then when he noticed that's why people were enjoying the movie, he was like, oh, they missed the point of the movie. I'm like, I don't know. The movie is pretty just like, look how fun this was.
I thought it was also about like the downfall of that and how it's like not all as it
Sure,
seems.
but like there's a 3-hour movie. Fun, rich guy makes a lot of money by scamming people, financial abuse. And it's like, yeah, he ends up in prison, but even after that, he's sort of just given, you know. I don't know how we got on this. I have mixed feelings about Martin Scorsese movies.
Okay.
Amazing filmmaker.
Okay, but he made a documentary about Bob Dylan.
Yes.
Your bestie. Okay.
My bestie?
Yeah. I don't know.
Does that mean friend?
Sure.
I'm not friends with Bob Dylan.
Would you be?
Probably not.
Why not?
You don't want to be friends with, I don't know. Why do I want to be
Talented musicians? Or is he too old to
like
be
an
friends with?
80-year-old man who hates people.
Is
he
that
hates
why
his fans.
you like him?
we,
Is that why you like
yeah,
him?
maybe we'd get along.
Oh my god, it all makes sense.
He's notorious for like he doesn't want to meet fans. He doesn't want people to tell him.
Does he sign anything, or he's just like fuck that shit?
He doesn't like fans. Yeah.
He doesn't like people.
He also really doesn't like pictures being taken. Like you get kicked out of his shows for trying to take pictures.
Really?
Yeah, although that might be
Interesting.
a more common thing now. I don't know.
What? Everyone has their phone out.
Yeah, and that sucks. So I agree with Bob Dylan.
You agree with the angry 80-year-old man?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I hope you had a good episode here with Taco Tuesday. There were some good ones, some interesting ones.
Ashton Kutcher.
Sorry, I was thinking of like Milla Kunis. My brain is not the most functional today.
What is that? You were thinking of Milla. You were trying to say Milla Kunis and
Milla
Ashton
Kunis.
Kutcher at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Sometimes things do not compute as intended. It's okay. It's fine. We all have our days or our nights.
It is a day.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching.
End this.
And we'll see y'all later. Bye.